the gentle words. We're not optimizing these programs. We're from everything from distribution to redemption, but there's been a lot of good efforts in the last few years. There's a lot of great incentives, and we're starting to see, I think, more success with these programs. So anyway, that's what kind of drew me into this conversation. It's been an ongoing one ever since on how can we better utilize these programs, help offer suggestions to improve these programs. And then also on the and then thinking about it with both sides in mind, right? We heard today on the plenary session they're just as important for consumers as they are for farmers. And if you're operating a community farmers market or planning one or making an assessment about a positioning of community farmers market, I think we'll offer some perspective today that can help you kind of decide what the right approach is for both the farmers and consumers. Yeah, and lastly, I just wanted to mention that, again, anyone who's familiar with my organization, we're, and others that are up here, farmers markets are one method of connecting farm food to people, right? And especially in our food desert communities. But there's a lot of other models, and so we won't have a ton of time to go into that today, but I think the panel will start to suggest some ideas. I mean, we have so many things at our disposal today, like technology, online ordering, mobile market programs, pre-ordering, right, subscriber programs for CSAs and things like that. So there's just some alternatives to the conventional market that I think some folks up here have some great experience with, and we wanted to share with you as well. So, and then I'm going to try to keep time pretty well, so we have plenty of time for questions and comments. And we've got some very knowledgeable people in the audience, I can see. So, with that, can we just take a moment, and I'm going to sit down and stop lording over you, and we can go ahead and just give a minute intro on each of us, if you guys don't mind doing your intro, George.
My name is George Asprocolis. I'm a first-generation farmer. I started farming fruits and vegetables in 1991. I do exclusively what I call the tailgate farmers markets, primarily in North Jersey. I'm also president of the Tri-County Farmers Co-op in Heights County, Jersey.
Thank you, George. Danny?
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name's Danny Krog. I'm from Asbury Fresh. We're a small team of 4 people that produce 2 seasonal farmers markets, a 30-week season in Asbury Park and a 39-week season in Homedale, New Jersey.
I'm Lisa Martin. I'm the Director of Food Access and Grant Writer at City Green. City Green is an urban farming and gardening nonprofit in Clifton, New Jersey, as of Passaic County, and we run a lot of programs that connect people to food and nature. I oversee our food access initiatives, which include a Vegemobile mobile market. We have 2 regenerative farm properties, so we grow a lot of veggies and then distribute them to senior buildings and WIC offices and libraries through our Vegemobile. And we also offer a statewide Good Food Bucks SNAP incentive program. So we fund farmers markets, CSAs, grocery stores all over New Jersey to double the value of SNAP at their markets.
I'm Alicia Newcomb. I'm with CROPS, which is Communities Revolutionizing Open Public Spaces. We're in Atlantic County. We focus a lot in Atlantic City and Pleasantville. We have farmers markets. We've had farmers markets since our inception in 2016, and we are in 3 different municipalities, one of which we do run a mobile farmers market. All of our farmers markets are SNAP and WIC and FMNP authorized, and we're partners with City Green, so we do the SNAP doubling as well. We also do some other programming. We have a co-op storefront space and some urban farming locations and a lot of education and a paid internship program.
Hi, good morning. My name is Bill Jenkins. I'm the SNAP. I'm trying to remember, we did a reorganization. Administration Integrity Branch Chief for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Office. We're located in Robbinsville, New Jersey. We have 7 states, Delaware, D.C., Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and Puerto Rico. So we're responsible for that. I'm primarily responsible for SNAP. Part of that includes ABT, farmers markets. So that's why I'm here today.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So, I guess our first question is for George, but any of these questions, if people want to jump in and comment as well. But George, I was hoping you could give us kind of perspective. And farmers markets start with being about the farmer, and any of us who operated them, we know you have to make sure that the farmer and the anchor farmer are doing good business, right? And so I was hoping you could just kind of give us some context about farmers markets. your own background as a business owner, how do you approach them? What are some of the things you're looking for? What are some of the strategies? And if you can even share some of just the costs and workload and things that you go through when you're thinking about the market.
Well, I'm doing right now probably 12 to 15 different mobile markets a week. We have 5 trucks that are on the road. I primarily grow on 40 acres of ground that I grow specifically for my farmers markets. There's different ethnic vegetables that we grow. There's a lot of preparation involved in this time of the year as far as what markets we're going to have coming up next season. My longest market is 31 years we did this year. There's always new markets that come up. And you want to know the ethnicity of the community as far as what they're going to need at that market, what you want to grow for that market. Starting out right now, I consider myself right now pleasantly unemployed because during the season, when a farmer says full time, it is sun up to sundown. You do a lot of work each day, every day, 7 days a week. So right now, the planting season is we're getting the trucks ready to go, we're getting the equipment ready to go, lining up labor for next year. Around January, February, I'm going to have dozens of communities calling me trying to book farmers markets. Like I said, we have 12 to 15 now, so I turned down most of them. We just don't have the labor to do it all. When I do go look at a farmer's market, the best markets that I have done, you need to have an active manager or community, some kind of a system there that's going to run the market. I've had markets where the manager is a no-show manager, the markets don't last. They're not good. We've had markets there where the community sets up their own tent and they are there the entire time in the market, promoting that market. Those work very, very well. So you have to kind of pick and choose where your market's going to be. I did mention labor. Labor is an extreme hard issue. You got to have somebody on that truck that you got to trust with money. It's not me out there all the time. You have different people that are going to the markets. Just to give you an idea of cost, and I always use this as a, people say, okay, the farmer goes there, the farmer made a couple $100 today, the farmer did great. Well, you got to think about it. In my situation, if I have a truck on the road and I'm sending 2 people to a market, they both cost money. The tolls, the fuel, the maintenance of the truck, and whether I'm growing the product or purchasing in some product, it all costs money. So you got to figure for a farmer to make anything at that market, you're talking $1,000 minimum to break even. So when you're making a couple $100 at a market, well, maybe you didn't lose that much today. You got to try to pick and choose where you're going to be, what you're going to do. This time of year also, we're doing our seed orders. Like I said, figuring what markets we're going to have, getting the seed orders together, irrigation stuff together, plastic mulch, working the ground, just getting things ready for the next season. I do a lot of work, a lot of markets in North Jersey. I think probably more than half of my income is through the Farmers Market Nutrition Program. We take the Wickens senior checks, we take the SNAP, we take credit cards, we take the market bucks, we take whatever form of payment is out there. You have to be able to take it all. I know some farmers kind of resist taking credit cards. That's all people carry anymore. They're all carrying credit cards. Nobody carries cash.
That was going to be one of my follow-up questions for you, George. Do you think that other farmers are considering FMNP and SNAP when they're making their decisions about markets? I know you said you do, and that's a big part of your business. Is that generally true, or is that...
If we talked 2-3 years ago, I would say yes. But with the changes in the FMNP program over the past couple of years, it is extremely challenging. And I know farmers now that are dropping out of the program because the health department is not, I don't want to really get into that whole aspect of it, but it needs to be fixed, that whole farmers market program. They changed to a QR code, which somewhat is scanning. There's a lot of issues involved. A lot of farmers, I was solicited from the state to try to get farmers into that program, which I did. I spoke at some meetings and brought farmers into the program, and now those farmers aren't happy with it. A lot of them are dropping out.
Right. Okay. We're going to come back around to talk about this. We're not just going to leave it at that.
Right.
But yeah.
So there are are challenges there, but like I said, I take every form of payment, and every farmer that's out there should take every form of payment. I mean, it used to be back in the day, people would ask, do you take credit cards? Now I'm getting asked, do you take cash? No one's taking cash anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it, a lot that people don't really realize. It's not just put the seed in the ground and watching it grow and taking it out to market. There's an awful lot involved.
Thank you, George. Danny, can you tell us a little bit from your perspective as a market manager, someone who sets up markets and has to probably consider, some other things, right? Like what the community needs, location. You and I were talking about earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about the assessment and the workload and things that happen on your end in the creation of some of these markets? Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, let me clarify. So we're a farmers and makers market. So we also, like as George was saying, we get a lot of people reaching out to us asking, hey, could you do a market at our location, our town, our street, whatever it is. So, the easiest way for me to answer that question, like, how to assess it is I have no idea. Every place is different, right? And, but, what we have learned is number one, like, we have to be able to do it, kind of like George had mentioned, like, there needs to be a market manager, like in our company called like the market mother or father, like whoever is going to really, be there the whole season, because so much comes up. And a very simple thing, like, we have one market that's 12 years old that predates my involvement with the company, and one that's about 5 years old. And then we have a series of other pop-ups, and not all of those involve farms. But what I can tell you in respect to food, in respect to farms, is that they take time, effort, commitment to become something, and that's a serious consideration. And the theme, we say a lot of times we can't do this because we realize like that our gut will tell us like the pieces aren't in place for us to be able to attract a farm and other food vendors where they're going to be able to make this economically viable year one, right? And we find often that is like the big challenge and the big commitment that we're asking from a vendor is like this. You may not make a profit here, right? Year one. So that's
how do you offset that? Have you used like subsidy? Have you used other incentives for folks to?
Yeah. So our business model, we around when I came into the company, we found like the company was starting to do other things like inviting local makers of things, and those products have higher margins. They have bigger price points. So our model is almost built like that. The makers kind of fund it. So with respect to farms, we always try to, with a new farm, one of our own in-house subsidies is that we will say, hey, it might be $26 per week to be at this market. However, if you miss zero at the end of the season, we will refund you your entire vendor fees. If you miss two, maybe it's 80% or something like that. Maybe more than three, it's half, and after that, we can't do it. The reason that we do that is to promote the consistency, right? Because that is really where things go wrong, and it's gone wrong for us many times where the farmer is not making money, and they just kind of leave in the season. And we understand that, we respect that, but at the same, we try to at least also make that that subsidy kind of like a vehicle for a conversation to happen when things are not going wrong, rather than just a no-show.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Danny. Lisa Martin. Hi. Can you talk a little bit about the implementation of food nutrition programs at these markets? And I know you want also mentioned the Double Bucks program, but just like what does a market have to kind of go through to get themselves ready for FMNP, SNAP, and same question for you also. When a community calls you and asks about expanding a farmers market to a new neighborhood or a new, what comes to mind for you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think SNAP and WIC and FMP and SNAP incentives like Good Food Bucks are a really important piece of creating economic inclusivity at a market. When a market takes those benefits, they're telling their community, no matter what your income level, you can come to this space and get local, high-quality food. You're welcome here. You are wanted here. And that's really important to have as a message to your community to make it inclusive. And something like Good Food Bucks, which is, again, our SNAP Nutrition Incentive Program, it doubles the value of SNAP dollars at a farmer's market or a CSA or a farm. So when you spend $1 of your SNAP, you get an extra $1 coupon for more fruits and vegetables. It's also reducing the price for shoppers, and it's generating new revenue for farmers. So that can be a good way to generate interest from lower income communities and people who use SNAP to attend your market. But to kind of and I think it also helps break the stigma of shopping at a farmer's market. Farmers markets have kind of been greenwashed and whitewashed in a lot of ways, and actually they're a space for everyone who eats fresh food, right? So offering these programs is an important piece of that. But when we were preparing for this panel, Emilio used the phrase that we want to kind of pull back the curtain of what it takes to operate a farmer's market. So in an ideal world, every farm and every market is taking SNAP and WIC and FMP, but there's a lot that goes into those programs and setting them up, as George and Danny alluded to. There's different authorization processes for SNAP and EWIC and FMP and Good Food Bucks. So you have to go through application processes with the state or with the USDA to be authorized to take those benefits. Each of them comes with their own set of regulations. So you as a farmer or a market operator have to know those regulations, and you also have to make sure every cashier you have understands those regulations. They all also have different technologies to process those transactions. So you need a DBT card reader that can take SNAP. As George said, FMP is on QR codes now, so you need a smart device that can connect to the internet and read a QR code. EWIC has its own separate card reader. So there's all these different systems that need to be in place. And then you think about the back end of that. You need someone administrating that. There's record keeping and budgeting and staff time that it takes just to take those payment types. So I think it's important that market operators and partners, if you're a nonprofit agency or I don't know, a county office or something, a really important role that you can play in the community of making your local markets more inclusive is taking some of that administrative burden off of the farmers and vendors. So things like providing fiscal sponsorship, marketing is a really big piece of that too. Can you help market that and advertise that that market takes these benefits to the community to help generate a customer base and get people who use SNAP and WIC to the farmers market? So yeah, there's a lot that goes into setting those programs up. And then I guess to the second part of the question about, I think a lot of us on this panel get calls about hey, we want to start a farmer's market. Can you send a farmer our way, or what should we do to set up a farmer's market? And it's really important to consider the needs of the community. So you shouldn't start a farmer's market without doing a needs assessment and surveying your community. Do people there actually want a farmer's market? Or is there one a town over or 2 towns over that will suffice as the farmer's market, and how can you collaborate with that town? So that's step one in starting a farmer's market is it wanted? Is it needed? Are customers going to come out? And also, the other thing I was going to say is that, when a farmer's market's getting started, or even if you're like trying to revamp the model of your farmer's market to take SNAP and WIC, it should be built into the mission of that market. Food access should be built into the mission, because that way you're setting the tone and the culture right from the get-go that this is an inclusive space where people of all income levels can come and shop, and having that in your mission will help guide your decisions and your operational strategies as your market grows and includes more customers.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, no, I think that matches with a lot of experiences that probably a lot of us have had too, where you have that central presence at the market that welcomes customers in, that explains all the benefit programs, that has the proper signage, all those things that lets people know we want everybody here, regardless of how you pay. In fact, we're making a special effort to include these programs. So yeah, thank you. I think there's a lot of good things said there. Alicia, I'm going to give you the hardest part of this. Okay, so we have what George, Danny, and Lisa said about the difficulties, the considerations, and what do we do then for some alternative models to farmers markets? You can talk more about traditional farmers markets as well, but what about those times when we have a community that we know has, like a food desert community that we know has food access issues, or maybe we even have a more rural food desert community where there's transportation issues, some of the things that we've talked about before. What else can we do if we make an assessment and there's just like no good place to execute a farmer's market? What are some of the other things that are working?
So I think like something that we talk about in the inclusive market group, Aaron and Emilio and we've been talking about this for like probably 2 years at this point, but we sort of talk about our organizations providing sort of like the connective tissue between those growing food in our state and those who really want to need it. And like one of our board members is Kyle Smith from Smith Poultry, and he recently was quoted as saying like, what's the one thing you have to do every day? Eat food. So everybody needs to eat food. So it's not that there isn't a market for this stuff, but it's the inaccessibility to that market, which is something I know they were talking about in the beginning, the plenary session. So ways that we see ourselves as partners with our farmers that we work with, and you have to, in the same way that you're talking about doing a needs assessment for the community, like you really need to talk to your farming community and do a needs assessment with them. You have to understand what their business model is. You have to understand, what their capability is, what their, the number of, in terms of like hours worked and labor and things like that. They probably, and maybe don't, if they're not a farm that's set up to go to farmers markets, they don't have just extra people hanging out around the farm who are able to go run a farmer's market and, know the work that goes into it to run a farmer's market for 5 hours and run a table at a market. So ways that we have kind of creatively sort of tried to, get farm food from New Jersey still into the communities that we work with is a lot of times we've almost become like distributors. So we've partnered with our farmers and purchased food from them, specifically to go to certain places to pop up. Like we spent this summer popping up in the WIC Farmers Market in one of our municipalities. We have a mobile farmers market, and the bulk of the food that's on the mobile farmers market is from local growers. Some of our key farm partners, that's who we buy throughout the year. And we started out small and we tried to grow that over the years. I think the first year we only spent about $5,000 on one local farmer, and then the next year we were able to spend about $10,000 or $12,000 with that same farmer for some of these pop-up farmers markets as a way to make sure that the economic benefit is still there for the farmer, but then by being able to be the sort of overarching umbrella organization that is accepting SNAP and WIC and FMNP, we're also able to get that produce to, families and individuals who need it in an affordable way. Kind of to speak to one of your other, like, the questions that the previous panelists have spoken about too, is that's kind of the benefit to a farmer's market being SNAP or WIC authorized instead of a farmer. Like, we're taking that administrative burden off of the farmers, even if it is a larger farmer's market where multiple farmers are participating. We've actually heard from, now that we became FMNP and WIC authorized 2 years after we became SNAP authorized, and we've sort of been running it in the same way that we run SNAP, where we're the ones taking the payments and then paying the farmer out later. We gave the farmers the option of taking on devices and running the QR codes themselves, but they prefer not to do that. It's a little bit difficult to say, you're going to get a check for SNAP, but you're going to take your own payment for with FMNT. And then it becomes confusing, that's the other part of making sure that your partners are educated on these programs. A lot of times we're the ones having to do the education for clients. And, I think that farmers markets are a place that are more inclusive and welcoming to people utilizing SNAP and within FMNT. Like, I was just talking to a girlfriend yesterday, and she was shopping at Whole Foods, and she said that the cashier, right, the customer in front of her was using an EBT card, and the cashier was, like, complaining and saying, well, you're the one who came here with this benefit, so you should know how it works. And that's not okay. We've had moms who come to us for the first time trying to use their WIC benefits, and they're pulling out their wallet, and their hand is, like, shaking. We might be the first people who are nice to someone utilizing these benefits. And that's a really important piece with it, and if we can shoulder the administrative cost, and if you're a nonprofit organization, some of our farmers markets are, we're able to pull in resources from other areas. Pooling resources, I think, is another way that we can ensure that farmers markets survive, because, like you're saying, sometimes the markets are flooded with too many places asking for farmers markets at once. And if we can pull them together around one common need, it's beneficial to the farmer, it's also beneficial to meeting the community where they're at.
Thanks very much, Lisa. That's a really good point to emphasize, like this experiential side of this. Bill, I was hoping we could zoom out a little bit, and you could just give us some context of some things for state as a whole, or maybe even your region as a whole. Some things you guys are finding for your office, in particular, we're talking about some of our present challenges. We know the world is changing in a lot of ways, and farmers markets are a very, very old model, right? But there's other future opportunities. There's different ways of direct distribution to customers that Alicia highlighted. So your thoughts and your perspective from your office.
First, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to be part of this panel. It's distressing to hear some of the information I'm hearing from you on this one, because the WIC Farmers Market Program is doing really well in New Jersey as far as the number of farmers authorized. It's over 150. For SNAP, I don't think between farmers and farmers markets, we only have 67 authorized, and less than 40 of those actually redeem benefits. Okay, and in New Jersey, actually, last fiscal year, there was $2.6 billion in SNAP benefits redeemed in the state of New Jersey. Less than 400,000 of that was farmers or farmers markets. That's less than 1/100th of a percent. So that's disturbing. It really is. And what's really hurt me about the WIC, you're saying you're losing WIC folks, is our counterpart for the WIC program here is Connie Kramer. So we were discussing when we'll drive up here today, I want to get numbers like her. So I want to reach out to the WIC authorized farmers markets to get them in the SNAP program. So if you're losing folks in the WIC program, it's sort of disturbing to me. And at least I'm also upset about the client's complaint. That's not right. At the stores, we do have a retail hotline and stuff, and we still do with that. We handle those complaints. We'll refer to who, and we'll contact the store to take care of that, okay? Because our clients are important to us, I'm sorry. That's what our mission is, that's why I'm glad to be here, because our mission actually is working with partners, all our partners, to decrease food insecurity for folks and help farmers at the same time. So it's a win-win situation for us. I'm sorry I went a little off topic.
No, it's okay. Please.
I'm just
Those are
learning,
stunning
and that's what I
numbers.
said.
Yeah.
It's great to learn that, yeah. So, like you said, with the pandemic and everything, we responded. FNS did, I thought, did a fabulous job. I don't know if you're familiar. We put up an online purchasing program for the entire country. All states right now, and our territories are participating in it. So retailers, because of the pandemic, folks can get to stores, we made online purchasing available. So in 2022, in New Jersey, $66 million was purchased online. It's about 2% of the number I gave you of what that redemption rate meant. It was actually over $3 billion in 2022 because of the pandemic, EBT benefits, and everything else. 23 it's increased by 62%. It's over 108 million. So it's 4% of all redemptions in New Jersey. The reason I'm talking about this is we're talking about trying to increase the participation of farmers in the program. So FNS actually right now, if a farmer gets SNAP authorized, they have the ability to be able to take online purchasing. Yeah, I have paperwork here with the website and how to apply for that. The first part of that process is to get authorized by FNS. Once you have that FNS authorization number, then you can go through that process to do that.
Bill, does that include? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, this just happened?
Does that include farmers markets and market managers, or is it only direct to farmers at this point?
It's going to be the farmers. I'm not sure about the farmers markets. The only requirement I'm positive of, you need an FNS number to start the process.
Understood. Yeah.
So you should be able to do it with the farmers market. Don't.
Or a farmers co-op of some
Yeah,
kind.
that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. As long as you have that one unique FNS number, you should be fine. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was good news. And like you said, it's lessons we learned from the pandemic. People like that convenience of that. So that's what was happening with that.
You more okay. No, that's great. I'm sure people have a lot of questions.
No, that's fine.
Wanted to just briefly just thank everybody. If anyone else has any comments before we go on to questions for everybody else, something that Bill sparked or anybody else, feel free to jump in now if you'd like to.
Just one thing to comment on the SNAP redemption being lower. I've taken SNAP for many, many years,
Yeah.
and not a lot.
No.
I don't think the participants in New Jersey are educated enough to know that those SNAP benefits can be used at the farmer's market.
It's funny you mentioned that because that was one of the things. That's what I said. It's great for us to get to these meetings because we hear different things. So we heard that about 10 years ago, to be honest with you. The clients did not realize they can actually spend their benefits at farmers markets. So we worked with our different states. As I said, we have seven states that we deal with. A lot of the SNAP eligibility offices will have signage in the offices notifying folks of that availability, and they'll point them to farmers or farmers markets that are in their neighborhood. So that's one of the things we learned, and we try to get them to do. We can contact New Jersey Department of Social Service, ask them to try to do that effort again.
Because I one time had a market in the Bronx. I was authorized to take it in the Bronx. That was my primary source of payment in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Was SNAP benefits.
Understood. And that's the communities.
The people in New York knew what to do with them.
Why, George? Sorry. Why? What's different?
I just think the education there, when they first get their benefits, they're told that they can use it at the farmer's market. Okay, we're just educated about that. In New Jersey, I don't think that's there.
No, and that's like I said, we dealt with that in numerous states. So yeah, we'll talk to our folks at the DHS.
And I just want to add for the WIC farmers market and senior farmers market benefits are only allowed on markets and farmers.
Right.
Can't use it on brick and mortar
Right.
stores. And that's how it's educated. Now, I'm not talking about the WIC instrument for what I believe you refer to as e-WIC. There's so many different WIC benefits.
Which
It's
confuses some
confusing.
people.
I
Yeah.
wish it
Yeah.
didn't. But the intention here for farmers market and senior farmers market, which sometimes we put under one umbrella and say farmers market, but they're different audiences, right? You have your WIC participants and then you have your eligible seniors and above. Only at farmers and farmers market. And in the both programs, nutrition education is a requirement that we monitor them. They have to teach these young moms how, about, it's a food prescription. Like you go to an RX prescription, they base it nutritionists and RDs, and they are educated, but it's intimidating. I've been at a farm market where my hand's shaking. I don't know what that green thing is, but I think I want to cook with it. You know what I mean? So we do educate them before they come out, but you might be the first face they see. So thank you.
I'd like to add to that very quickly. Our markets, we've been approved for 2 years for SNAP, and year one, very nominal participation. Year two, it grew a lot. A couple things that we did, and just some things that we had noticed. First off, we ended up kind of midway through the season, just printing yard signs with the SNAP logo and the Double Bucks logo on it. And putting them by the vendors instead we had previously just had it at 110. The other thing that we noticed, and it was good that we had two people who consistently worked, running the benefits through the iPad. I should say two things that we noticed. First off is, some people are like, you want me to put my PIN into your iPad? Like, no way. So there's a little bit of trust there, and having the same people at the table every week, really helped with that trust. Second of all, and I didn't experience this myself, but Cheater, who was one of the people that works for me, said, some people are like, because the tent just says, it has the Snap logo in the middle, and that's the only thing that we do here. Some people are kind of shy about coming, or they don't want to necessarily be identified. So we made that. We kind of included it with another vendor's tent that did food waste pickups, and we put T-shirts at our tent, and inclusive is an important thing that the having a farmer's market, especially where things might be more expensive, being able to send that message, hey, this is for everybody, and you're included.
Yeah, and I was going to jump in and say that on the note of signage and having signs and tents up at the market, translation support is also really important, multilingual translation support. These programs can be confusing enough as it is. Someone might have a SNAP card and an EWI card and FMP benefits and Good Food Bucks, and to help that customer navigate all these programs at the market, if you speak the same language, can be confusing, let alone if there's a language barrier. So I think that's kind of a low-hanging fruit that might be able to be tackled at the state level is, providing multilingual signage and translation support to farmers and markets that take these benefits.
So I'm going to jump in and just say, I run the West Windsor Community Farmers Market, which is a 20-year-old market, and we're one of the founding partners with City Green when the funding started. And actually, I helped open a market in Trenton that was part of that trial. The translation piece and being proactive as a farmer's market and going to the pantries that are near you. So we work with Arm & Arm, which is in Mercer County, and partner with them through the market, but we translate our benefits into a few different languages and then bring those cards to the pantry. So there's a piece within that, within the WIC office as well, that's kind of missing in that, I know in Mercer County alone, the printout that recipients are getting when they get their QR code now is a Xerox thing that's cut off. And when I used to run the Trenton Farmers Market, the information was inaccurate. So people are coming after November when the benefits expire. So there's a bigger piece to this in that it has to come either from USDA, FNS, or the WIC office itself, or proactively as managers going to the WIC offices and seeing if you can put things up in different languages just to get the word out. Because to Danny's point, if people don't know that they can use the benefits, you're not. That's why the redemptions are lower.
Yes, exactly.
And
That's another thing too. Just I think what you're talking about with not having the correct information, that happened to us the first year that we were with an FMNP authorized. We are a farmer's market, but at the time that we filled out the application with the Department of Health, we were filling out an application for a farmer. So there was one spot for one location and one address, which I had to fit 3 addresses with 3 different days of operations and times of operations. By the time it was printed and disseminated to the clients receiving that information, they got the wrong hours of operation, the wrong days of operation. So that is something our group has worked on. We've been very annoying to the Department of Health to have them develop a secondary application for farmers markets versus just farmers, and to mitigate the problem of the 5-acre rule as well.
And so there's, if folks are interested in some of the things that Chris mentioned, so these tweaks to the system, right? We talk a lot about the initial process of people getting their FMNP or SNAP and what could or could not happen, and also ongoing ways to inform the user. So, right, we live in this era. Why aren't we finding ways to just text out information about markets or real-time ways to subscribe to CSAs and things like that. Those are things that I think we can all get to or we can talk to together. And that's why, again, like to Bill's comment, having these panels where we come together as people who have been on the ground, farmers, that, market managers, all people who have implemented programs and different ways to do this, and get our heads together. I think we can come with some very common sense sort of solutions to try to put forward. And if that's something that's of interest to folks here, again, I'll put in a plug that our working group is sort of making those lists and bringing them before assembly folks and decision makers in government. If you're also in the room slightly because a different reason, like you're interested in your community market, enhancing your community market, or maybe starting a market for the first time, you also have right here, these three wonderful people who can give you, I think, a lot of background on, again, like some of the things I started to talk about, from assessment that a farmer makes to a market manager to how you set up these programs, and even properly budget and think about location of your farmer's market. So that's the way we wanted to kind of build this panel of you can plug in different ways. So we'll definitely take more questions and comments. I just wanted to just let everyone know that after this, so we're at 11:20 now. So we'll take questions and comments for a little while longer. I can't remember exactly how much time we have left, maybe 20 minutes. But we'll all stay up here for a little bit before lunch. And if you want to connect with anybody about Food Democracy Collaborative, some of the initiatives that are going on, or get some advice on farmers and markets, you have that opportunity as well. So yeah, anyone else? Open it up. There. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm from Somerset County Government, so one of the 50 wealthiest counties in the country, and we have 2 food deserts that are top 50 in the state for the worst. So they have that kind of racism, classism, right, all of that. What are the strategies to sort of get into those counties down further towards Plainfield, where we are too? Mobile farm trucks is something that I'm hearing might be the best thing. Is there access to funds from the state to facilitate that? Is it worthwhile to invest in that? I want to sort of figure out how to make that work.
Well, wealthiest county in the state. What kind of
The
resources?
50 wealthiest in the country, like top 5. I operate with a level of rage every day.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, we've asked our county for things that are easy for them to give away. Like, we got a vehicle from them that was up for auction, so I would explore that because that's probably going to be your costliest item for a mobile farmer's market. But I think our experience is talking to the state, the municipality, and the county simultaneously as much as we can to take advantage of places that already have grants maybe from the state, and there's some line in the budget that could be dedicated to that. But I would definitely also suggest assessing the types of items that you just have laying around and be able to just kind of give them away for $1 or something like that, to whoever is going to be the partner taking that on.
I want to add, and George has been a part of this too, at Essex County, where I work and live, is we have some money too. One of the things we've been successful at, but we have similar situation, right? Different class divides in communities. Every fall there's like there's actually all throughout the summer there's redemption efforts specifically for seniors. So like a lot of the county resources include mostly in the form of busing and some coordination from county folks, as well as the municipal buses, bring seniors from the various senior centers to markets or even to a central festival where a lot of benefits can be distributed and redeemed, which we know, like in Essex County, like there's a bunch of seniors that are in housing that are not going to be mobile, right? So you can set up as many farmers markets as you want. If people can't get to them, So specific senior markets, specific senior hours at markets to reach like those food access communities have been important for us. But I think it's going to be. I agree with Alicia. It's kind of like a little bit of all hands on deck from many levels, from local NGOs that might want to take this on, to the towns, the municipalities that you want to target, that are the food desert communities, and then from that county level, like what can you do to support like getting residents to the farmers if we can't get if it can't be the other way around. So that's been really important for us.
Encouraging whatever agency it is within your county that administers the senior benefits. Because like where we are in Atlantic County, it's a different agency that does the WIC FMNT that does the senior FMNT. And like, we've had a ton of success communicating and working with the WIC agency, but when it comes to communicating with like our Office of Aging at the county, we've gotten like crickets. So encouraging those people that already work for your county to meet with regularly and communicate and work with the partner that's going to be in charge of it. There's also a mobile market conference that happens in March, and it's online. I can email it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, and I'll mention also, we also run a Vegemobile mobile market program at City Green, and it's super effective. When we go to senior centers where all the seniors have FMNT benefits, or we go to the WIC office in the city of Passaic, they're by far our busiest markets. We get a ton of engagement. All we get is federal benefits at those sites. They're even more effective when the county can come and do sign-ups and benefit giveaways at that same time that the market is running. But in terms of getting that program started, we had some funding through the USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program grant, as well as I know the Reinvestment Fund's Healthy Food Financing Initiative has mobile market funding opportunities available, so those are some things to look into.
And I'll add one thing. Municipality can be not authorized to run a farmer's market.
Cannot be.
They can.
They can.
They can, yes. Yes.
Get a county.
Yes, it depends on the municipality. We have the application, you come up later, I'll give you this, and we have a website where you can go and apply. It walks you through the program. Farmers market applications, farmers market applications are a lot less complicated than the actual retailer applications. So.
And just to add to that, also, a lot of people don't realize that they can use their SNAP benefits for things like buying plant starters and for CSA share. So, like, if committing to, a 10 or a 14-week market is too much for the first year, building kind of like a local CSA market type program would be something that would be probably easier to take on the first.
It's also an access thing where it's like farms create a lot of distance between, land. So the two towns are like suburban neighborhoods. So then if you don't have a car or transportation, like you can't get to the farmer's market on the other side of the county. So like bringing it to these two particular municipalities is like significant.
I'll also say, like, do the assessment. It's expensive to run a mobile market. There's insurance costs. Our biggest barrier is hiring people who are able and wanting to drive a box truck in, urban neighborhoods, pay parking, like all of that. There's definitely expenses to consider.
Do governments ever sort of get into that where they take on the insurance, they take on the stamper, drive?
Certainly worth asking.
I work in Hudson County, and we give a grant out to another partner to run a mobile market. We found it was a little more difficult to do the insurance and things that way, but providing funding for that goes a long way.
What department are you in Somerset County?
Economic development.
Is there a sort of a food department, a justice department, or also
So,
Hudson County employees?
We have, agriculture is one of our primary industries, and then we have a head of agriculture, Kate Kapser, who actually you'll see on the panel later today. So we partner primarily together for the first time, as agriculture is a mechanism of economic development that is solving for food justice and a lot of other justice.
Actually, I'm Brian Todd with New Jersey Economic Development, but we the other side. But coming from your list, we did come up with our list of 50 food deserts, and we're just in the process now of, without getting into the gory details.
Were we on a call the other day?
Yeah, I think we are. We have $240 million in tax credits, so a lot of that to build supermarkets, but we just auctioned, or we're in the process of auctioning off some of those tax credits to give us cash. So we're coming up, developing grant programs and different ways to reach out. I wish I could say it's going to happen tomorrow, but government takes a while. We did put out like 8 planning grants for the top 10 and the top 10 food deserts we're eligible for. we're in the process of, that's underway now, so that money's out there. So please come to the EDA, we keep on looking. We just revamped the website, it should be live very soon, so there's more happening on that front. And the idea isn't, although the focus of the program was originally for supermarkets, we know that it's not just, it's bringing food to people, not just bringing people to food. So, we're working more on that front, so please keep aware, and we'll be having listening sessions and love to hear more input from people like you, and everyone in this room is so valuable to us.
You have the fridge truck program.
And we have the fridge truck, which is now working with retailers to put refrigerated lockers in food deserts. So.
And I have to put in a plug also for what my organization does and some others. And then you heard Haley talk about today. That's a big level, right? Common market, but you can become a small aggregator for your county. Anyone in this room, I mean, you can with a nonprofit organization, with a limited amount of farmers, be they some urban growers and a few rural partners that's a great thing about New Jersey. We're not far away from any rural partners. All within our food shed and within a small amount of food miles. Like you could find creative ways to aggregate some food from farmers, and then to George's point, if it doesn't make economic sense for a farmer to be there all the time, but if you can go pick up their great products and find creative ways of, we do a farm to families box program, we do some wholesale, like there's a lot of ways you can get that food to senior centers, WIC centers, other ways, and it's good to hear that hopefully EDA can help get more food to families, right? And said, right, yeah.
I did some work several years ago with Southbound Brook. I don't know if it's in your county or not. And we couldn't find a farmer. I didn't have the time to go to Southbound Brook. But what they did is they came to my farm. They purchased a product from me. They brought it back to Southbound Brook. And they had a nonprofit entity, whether it was Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, a school band, whatever, each or one Saturday, a different organization would man the market. And then the profits from that market will go as a donation to that organization. So,
like a youth market.
correct.
Yeah.
So it got the product to the community, all right, and it was benefiting some nonprofit organization. That's another kind of way to get it staffed, to get it manned. Like a lot of these football teams have a car wash or something. Same kind of thing. And there are some markets in Plainfield now. I know a buddy of mine does 2 markets in Plainfield now. He works right at the WIC site.
Okay.
Market. I don't know exactly where his location is.
North Plainfield, so maybe a different one.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Hi.
Megan, I run a farm in Atlantic County, part of a nonprofit that can focus in addiction recovery. And for the last, I think 4 seasons, we've been doing a summer farmers market. We're going to transition out of that model this next season and kind of split between doing a mobile farmers market for our sober living residents and then doing an on-site market at our farm. And I guess my questions are just what sort of supports or even grants or anything could be available to us to kind of make that transition as a very small staff of just basically 2, sometimes 4 people depending on the season, to kind of move away from a structured farmers market where we weren't making enough money to make it worth it. Plus, the market would bring in distribution of non-organic, non-local produce that was much cheaper, so that meant we were making less money in the market because there was all this competition. So it wasn't viable for us anymore. So now we're trying a new model of having people come to us and also bringing farms to people that need it. And I guess I'm having a hard time in my brain of how do we move from this to this, and what supports are available. Anyone has thoughts? Well, you should go to that conference. I was talking about it. It's in March.
I'm wondering if
So it's
you,
online, you said? Yes.
I'm wondering if you could pre-sell.
It is in person, but it's in Arizona this year, so.
I'm wondering if you could pre-sale, if you get to know, if you know what the customer base is, where you have to deliver to, if you could do some kind of CSA model or upfront, even if it's SNAP beneficiaries, right? To know exactly what you need to grow and sort of not walk into a high-risk situation.
I think
If that would help you.
getting in touch with sort of the outreach teams at the sober living homes that you're working with, and maybe talking with some of the social workers. I mean, this might be like a terribly complicated and maybe not ready by the season like suggestion, but also being able to accept the Medicaid, Medicare food payments, which actually Jonathan is sitting right in front of you and he could talk to you about. But since you are kind of delving into that specific like healthcare sector, it would be good to know like the social work aspect of it and what benefits the clients you're serving are primarily working with. But yeah, I think the CSA like food box model, the consistent on the regular basis, there's kind of like limited options, but it's got a lot of variety in it, might be helpful in the first.
Do you have suggestions on like what kind of online platform to use for something like that? Like, we don't really have that set up like right now.
We use Localline.
Yeah, we've had good success with Local Line. It's one of the top ones that comes up. Yeah.
Square that.
Okay. I don't think Localline does right now either.
I'm not sure that it's 2.0 version, like what it.
But
Why does everything have to like suck?
I know. The way you do that previously is you would just kind of, and Emilio I think has experience with this, like anybody who's paying with an EBT card, they would just make the order and then press pay and pick up.
Yeah.
But now with the information that you have, maybe we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Does the state have a banking system that can be utilized somehow to like aggregate all of these like functions of like WIC, Medicare, like
What are you going to talk about? I could talk a little bit about her model in Louisville, maybe.
Yeah.
That was even pre all online payments, right? I guess.
Yeah, and it sucks because we're innovators, so we're on the front lines, and not everybody's caught up to us.
yeah.
But it doesn't totally suck because we've had a lot of success in Louisville, Kentucky, where I moved home here to New Jersey after 4 years and spending 15 years running a sliding scale CSA type of ops program. It's still running with me here. 700 families pool their income, including SNAP benefits, on a sliding scale and get a share or a box every other week for the growing season. And we pop up in 10 different locations. And we also partner with businesses who have hourly workers who can't afford to eat fresh food, who help to subsidize some of those shares. And we have about a 75%, 25% mix between limited resource and higher income. And I think we are the largest redeemer of the Double Dollar program in Kentucky. So if you would like to talk to me after, we have an app that was created for us because we won a contest and a hipster app company in Louisville chose us, and our whole life changed because now there's an app that anybody can order their shares, they can skip shares, recipes, it's like this whole big thing. But I left all that and ran away here to New Jersey to start all over again.
Any other questions, comments? Yeah, Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie, the dietitian. I work at a hospital in Newark, New Hampshire Medical Center. We have a lot of programs. You know Emilio very well in our food access, nutrition education in schools, and I kept hearing a lot of the community, the education piece, and having the community understand how to use it. And so forgive me for this ignorant question, because I feel like every time I come to these things, I think I know what's going on, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know like all of this other side of it, of the farmers market side of it. But how do food assistant recipients learn about what markets are available to them? And I assume that changes every year in terms of where these markets are and pop-up markets.
I know as far as the FMNT program, the Department of Health has a list of the farmers markets in the state that accept the benefits. However, they do not routinely and accurately update that list. I got calls this year from markets that I haven't been in 3 years. Why aren't you at this market? And is on the list, okay? It needs to be better updated.
Yeah.
That's how the recipients would know where they can use their benefits. But that's,
Communicated at that Atlantic City conference and your authorization. I'm sure you're going to say yes. You're on the janitorial. I'm also not sitting in
believe
New Jersey.
me,
I'm federal.
believe me, I communicate all of this.
I've heard him communicate at the
And-
Board of
and-
Ag meeting.
Being I am one of the most verbal communicators at the meeting, I was inspected dozens of times this year. Okay? So, I'm sorry, I'm still gonna do what I'm doing because they are not doing the right thing. And until that happens, like what you mentioned, all it's coming together. On my Clover Flex machine, I can take any form of credit and EBT. Why can't I take eWIC and Farmers? Why can't it all be on the same machine? They hired a state team to fix all this. They just screwed it up.
And I think something that, on the note of like customer communication, something that we've talked about in our working group and brought up to the state a little bit also is how can we like integrate all the different websites where the WIC markets are listed and the SNAP markets are listed in Jersey Fresh. I think that's like a really, should be a high priority for Department of Ag or whoever is running that website at the state to build those markets into the website so it's a really easy search tool for people because right now it's all disaggregated. You have to go to a different website for SNAP.
That's the answer right there, Lisa, right?
Yes.
I mean, so you're right. DHS works with Bill. DOH works with me. But New Jersey Fresh, the Department of Ag, maybe they could be the voice.
Yeah.
Maybe they could have agreements, interagency agreements. Department of Health, come to this. Department of Human Services, come to this. And maintain that. Maybe they, George, would do a better one than Department of Health people.
Department of Ag and Department of Health are constantly butting heads.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And understaffed.
They just
That's
can't work
one of
together.
the things that Janine brings up the most is like, even if it says in legislation that like such and such department is supposed to work with such and such, it all, like a lot of what it comes down to is the way that the people running those departments interpret that legislation. So even if there is legislation for interagency like communication, sometimes it depends on who you talk to. And like to the point of like where do they find that information? Like the New Jersey Food Democracy Collaborative, and I know that you guys aggregate some of this information as well, like has a whole website where they have we have an intern on a yearly basis that calls and talks to every single SNAP authorized farmers market in New Jersey and updates the website on a regular basis. And they offered that to the Department of Ag, and they were like, you could just have this and put it on your website. And they were like, we can't.
Well, they redid their website, and that staff member is no longer with the department. So it's a self-reporting mechanism.
Yeah.
Having worked for the Department of Ag prior, it's challenging because there's
So,
nobody to actually input that information.
so when any of us shops or visits any website, we immediately get texts and emails to tell you to come back and buy more things. Right? So
So the algorithm.
correct me if I'm wrong, but our FMNP systems and our SNAP systems, when people sign up, we get their contact information, right? So like, you know what I mean? There's ways I think we could be using very simple technology to notify people in real time of opportunities. And it doesn't have to be just a stationary farmers market. It doesn't have to be just go find George at this market. It could be there's a new CSA program that's started in your community. There's something that your county's doing. There's an emergency food distribution. It could be a whole range of things. So I just think like there's some work to be done. I'm not pointing fingers, by the way. Even though I did gesture in your direction. I think we talk about this a lot. I mean, we're just behind on very simple, I think, technologies and common sense solutions that exist in every industry that we are trying to kind of like let's put these in the forefront because we can do this and we can easily contact people throughout the year, including food insecure communities, including seniors. I know there's some digital barriers. We have to talk about those things as well, but we're still not even sort of trying to implement these things. So posting a list is great. To George's point, updating a list is even better. But like posting a list somewhere is not as effective as, hey, this market's coming at this time to your community.
That's what they did at the WIC agency that we partnered with this year. They texted every one of their signed up clients, and that has been our most successful location. And like if we were able to do something like that with SNAP as well, it would really speak to like what they were talking about in the first session of taking some of this money away from these large corporate interests and actually getting them to the people who are growing real food, not just commodity crops. Those text blocks.
Judy, are we at time?
No, you have 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I'm just coming and trying to say, here a little bit.
We're wrapping up with the more combative portion of the.
We're going to have respectful dialogue.
Yeah, we are. No, we're doing good. So, anyone else with any final remarks, or want to spend a little time just networking, or?
I had a question
Go ahead.
real quick. So, for you guys who are farmers markets here, how many are involved with the New Jersey SNAP Ed program? Do they come, visit the market, do education for clients on how to cook the products? Because that's what we've discovered in a lot of states. There's an issue with that. SNAP Ed's also underlying grants.
It took us 3.5 years to get SNAP Ed to actually go on our market.
Yeah, we
Also, the
usually.
recipes need a little updated.
That's why I'm asking. I'm trying to get feedback. So when I talk to the state,
I've always basically hired our own chefs to do demos, like just our own private chefs to do demos, because it's much more. I mean, it's more culturally relevant, faster, better, more engaging.
Okay.
What is
Hiring your own chefs.
We've used SNAP
We hire our own
educators
chefs.
as well in Hudson County. They typically come to at least every other market.
Okay.
There's not a creative lens to the SNAP Ed program. And to me, so when I helped open the Greenwood Ag Farmers Market, SNAP Ed was a big partner and still is because the market's still in existence. But like I did a demo where I got a pound of ground beef from Norsehold Farm in Hillsborough. I cooked off some ShopRite branded brown rice. I got beans. I got canned tomatoes from the pantry. And then I sort of cooked off a pound of pasta and then brought a bunch of different herbs at market and sort of showed how you could stretch a pound of ground beef with pasta, with rice, with beans, with whatever. And SNAP Ed, and what a simple way, right, to really make it practical. And that piece of SNAP Ed is those recipes.
Okay. No, that's great. I'm trying to get this feedback. Okay.
And for us, I mean, it was really just easier for us to do the education component because they had all these kind of like, well, why can't you provide Wi-Fi for us? Why can't you provide a whole extra tent for us? And we're like, we're using our own vehicle to get to the farmer's market to begin with. Like, we don't have extra equipment. We don't have Wi-Fi at our farmer's market. We use a hotspot. So, like, it was a big ask for a small organization from, like, a better funded large organization.
We've also had the experience in certain situations where I think there's like thresholds of like SNAP rates in a community that a SNAP Ed educator has to be present for a SNAP Ed educator to be able to go. So if that market doesn't have evidence that there are SNAP users there, then the SNAP Ed educator can't go. So
But meanwhile, they could have a lot of FMNP users,
yeah.
and just SNAP is for whatever reason down that year, so you could be missing out on population that could really benefit from.
No, thanks for the feedback. Like I said, that's been great for all partners in trying to fix everything.
Yeah,
I understand it's difficult, but this is the first step in getting the information.
I just want to add that this from our standpoint from a hospital, SNAP Ed does come to our farmers market, and then it's also done a lot of education in the schools that we work with our nutrition education program. So they've been always helpful in coming out to our community. But I haven't noticed any of their education being on where locations they can use it. So as you guys were all alluding to that communication piece, I think that would be a really, because I've seen their presentations where they educate our, parents of the schools that I work with. And so I think that's, pieces you guys were saying, alluding to of the puzzle that we're missing.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to all the panelists. Thank you for all the questions, everyone. Thanks, Connie, for stepping in as well. You're like a pseudo panelist. Thank you.
Kind of pretty, so.